Hello and welcome to the Pickup. I'm your host, Cathryn Naiker.
And I'm your other host, Freddie Rivas. What's up?
I just said the Pickup without saying WNBA podcast.
Wow.
How have I done that? This is episode 92.
92.
And the first time I ever slightly messed up the intro.
Did you mess up, or are you just cleaning it up? Or are you smoothing it out?
Yeah. We'll call it that. We'll call it cleaning it up. I like that. That's such a good workaround from the term.
Right?
Stuff. Happy Olympics, everyone. We're recording this Sunday night. Just saw, Team USA narrowly beat Team France in an absolute thriller of a game. We're going to get into all of that and more. But first, Freddie, we thought it'd be a good idea to do just a couple quick shout outs here off the top.
Yeah. So, first of all, follow us on, all socials. We're at the Pickup WNBA pod, the Pickup WNBA pod 1050 on YouTube.
I can't get I hate it so much. It drives
Listen,
me insane.
I'm just.
It drives me insane.
But I hit it smoothly,
Yeah, you did.
Could have been a bumpy ride, but I'm throwing in the 1050, there's a radio vibe to this.
Listen, okay, for those who don't know, 1050 is like a local radio station in Toronto. So it's oh my God. Anyway, please go on.
Yeah, so follow us on everything.
Yes.
Comment, subscribe, review. Like, it's really, we've been getting a ton of positive support this year, and it's so encouraging and boosts us up, and we really appreciate it. But yeah, we want to shout out a couple people who've hit us up on Insta and YouTube recently with encouragement and suggestions. And if you're thinking you want to listen to something, or you're interested about something, definitely hit us up, because we're down. And by the way, any of these pronunciations, if I'm off, I'm sorry. So at Ayabella,
I think it's Bojwani
24.
Yes.
So
Ayabella's commented on a couple things, and we appreciate you so much. She also told me I don't need to wear makeup, so yay for
wow.
me.
Okay.
Appreciate you.
By the way, I told my wife about
notice how Freddie didn't agree.
Oh yeah, I'm so sure. Don't put me there. Don't put that on me, Ricky Bobby. But yeah, I told my wife how you grilled me about not getting a pedicure, and she was like, "Yeah, I remember when you did that for my birthday," and I was like, "Oh, that's why I did it."
You did it for her birthday.
Yeah, she was like, "I'm going there for my birthday. You gotta come." And I was like, "Okay, fine." And she was like, "But you loved it so much," and I was like, "I know. Why didn't I go back?" She's like, "I don't know." And she's like, she said, "Catherine's right. This is the male experience. Shame on you."
Oh, well, shout out to Caitlin then.
Shout out to Caitlin. And then it's not Phantom Zone, but Phantom Zone.
What? Is that not Phantom Zone? What's Phantom?
There's no N. It's PHA.
Oh.
PHOM Zone.
Oh, is it Fathom?
Fathom.
It's Fathom Zone.
That makes a lot more sense. It's Phantom. What am I fucking on?
Like, what's Phantom?
Phantom Zone. Shout out. Mariana Monitis, obviously. We know Mariana.
Yes.
Bronwyn, 4232. And also shout out to Rachel on Insta, who actually suggested we do a mailbag episode. We've never done a mailbag episode. So I think that could be fun.
I would love to do that.
Yeah, so we'll get some. We'll collect our evergreen topics. She gave us a good one. Canadian history. She's an American listener and wants to know more about basketball in Canada. So we could do a deep dive on that. We could save it for a mailbag episode. But huge shout out to everyone, and thanks for the support, and keep it coming.
Thank you, everyone. I believe this one name is it? I think you said Bronwyn, but I think it's Bronny M.
It certainly is. Listen, when there's a at in front of it and then there's no spaces,
Excuse me, everyone. I'm so
I'm
sorry.
lost.
I was laughing and then I coughed and I didn't get the chance
Cathryn needs more Ricola, okay?
I need
She
my
needs more Ricola stat.
I apologize. I didn't get the chance to mute the mic in time.
Our first sponsor should be Ricola, and like,
I mean, yeah, it would help. I'm recovering from a cold this week.
Yeah.
All right. Let's get into this game. Good God Almighty, what a thriller! What an absolute thriller, down to the wire against France today. And I have to say, Freddie, like, okay, I feel like part of our dynamic, but just also part of who we are as individuals, is you are really like good at just like going with the flow, rolling with the punches. If we mess up, you're like, oh my God, that's hilarious, blah, blah,
Mhm.
blah, and you move on. I, on the other hand, I'm like so hard on myself. I'm like, calling myself an idiot inside my head,
Mhm.
stuff like that. I truly, like, I almost feel like I have to apologize to our audience for to the extent that we overlooked France.
Yeah,
And a
that's
part
fair.
of me wants to blame, because I don't want to be responsible. A part of me feels like I want to blame other, like, North American basketball media entities, because I feel like I consume a lot of basketball content, like the
Mhm.
games, a lot of other media, and I feel like no one was really on top of just how good France is, really both on the men's and women's side. And no one was really predicting them to get this far and to get so close. And I feel like what's going on with basketball in France right now is truly like, it should be a bigger story than what it is. And I'm so sorry. That's the cold. But I just feel like, yeah, like, I can't believe this team is that good. And we don't know. Am I crazy? Am I crazy?
You're not crazy at all. So, we're Canadian, right? But in a lot of ways, like from a media perspective, and for most of our listeners are American, but we have listeners all over the world, and I think that for our American listeners, maybe this surprises you, maybe this doesn't, but the Canadian media climate, it's like we mostly absorb, like through osmosis, like your star system,
Like
and
American
yeah,
content.
and
Yes.
to a lesser extent England's star system, and then obviously for the French parts of Canada, France's star system. So
Right.
the reason I say that is to say, um not just because the US is the best at basketball, but also because the media is very American centric. Often in these international tournaments, other teams and other players are majorly overlooked. And I think what's unique to me, anyways, as like I'm covering the women's basketball more and more and more, is I think the separation from like talent in the W versus like say in the French league, like players I don't know about, is even less than in men's basketball.
Mhm.
So in the NBA, it's kind of like this idea where it's like if you don't play in the NBA, then anyone on like Team USA or whatever, like to Team Canada, we had a full roster of, like, for men's, we had a full roster of NBA players,
Yeah,
and
they lost in the quarterfinal.
we got thumped by France, who had a bunch of non NBA players, but they had nonetheless really really good players, and like to transfer that over to the women. And to echo your point, Cathryn, like I've been saying this about, from the French male perspective for a long time, but I think it's really true of the women, as we've seen, is we need a French Revolution like basketball doc, because
Yeah.
France is absolutely coming. It's the biggest basketball story in the world.
Mhm.
Like, forget about like superstars like Wembenyama, but like yes, we know Gabby Williams, which we'll get to. Yes, we know Johannes, which we'll get to. But like, I think there's so many players we don't know, and the talent's so good. And I think it's another reminder that the WNBA, it's so important that they get their salaries up so that,
Yeah.
and they expand and the roster sizes, all the kind of stuff we always talk about. If they're gonna sort of like capture the world's, like if they're gonna like say, hey, we are the best league, then they
They need to have the best players.
they have to have the best players, and they clearly, have the heavy majority of best players, but they don't have them all.
Yeah, there's like a few exceptions. Like we talked about Emma Meeseman last week. And,
Mhm.
obviously we got to talk about Gabby Williams this week. It was such an incredible, um, high energy, suspenseful, riveting game. It was more this week watching the Olympics was more exciting than the NBA finals were this year, or even like a lot of the NBA playoffs were this year. Like it was that level of exciting for me. And, talk about this France team, some of the best defense I've seen on Asia Wilson in some time. Like they knew what they were doing. And I don't have like all the players' names like memorized off by heart and all that. Like, so I apologize, but incredible defensive effort. Obviously, Gabby Williams went off. One thing I thought was like interesting, not in a bad way, was at the end of the game, they talked about going with Kelsey Plum on over Chelsea Gray in the second half. But
Mhm.
I also thought it was interesting that Sabrina Ionescu wasn't in the game at the end of a very tight game because she's known for being so clutch. Ultimately it didn't matter. She was in the game for parts of the fourth quarter, just not those last like 2 minutes. And one thing I really loved about Kelsey Plum today was, there were two moments in those last few minutes of the game when she was at the free throw line and she's smiling. And this is my favorite quality in an athlete. When you can smile in the highest pressure moments of your career, you've got it made. Because that to me is the ultimate thriving under pressure. Like she wanted it. She wanted that moment. She was smiling, she was happy. She was so excited to be in that game in
Mhm.
those moments that I feel like I fell in love with Kelsey Plum even more than I already do. I've said a lot, but I just had to say that observation before I forgot it because that's just like my one of my favorite things in sports.
Yeah, I love it when someone looks at the moment and like smiles back at it. As a
Yeah.
competitor, you have to be absolutely terrified. And
Yeah.
and also it's sort of like as a viewer, you just feel so comfortable and that they have things in control. So me and you, we covered, before their Nigeria game, with
Mm.
Bleacher Report. We did a live stream um about Team USA, and about other things as well, and sort of who their big competitors were. But to your point about France, our producer flagged to us kind of like who the major competitors were, and it was Belgium, Nigeria,
In Germany.
and Germany, right? So France wasn't even on there.
That's
And
right.
we also talked about, just kind of organically, and in the comments, like people were wondering about who should get 1 minutes. And I mean, I want to shout out like two people here. So like Copper didn't get
Yes.
a lot of minutes leading up to this game, and the only people that played more minutes than Copper was Collier, Asia Wilson, um, and
Stewie
Stewie,
probably.
who were like the
Yeah.
main three people. And then the other person I want to shout out is Jackie Young, who I think
Yeah.
really elevated herself in this tournament. She, I'll say it like straight up, like looked better than Plum for a lot of this tournament. And it's like that's not how we think about the aces. We don't
That's
think like
true.
we don't think about like, okay, Asia, Chelsea, Kelsey. Like that's what we think about. No one sort of like Jackie. Like, and I think the conversation has to You
Yeah,
know,
she's kind of
sorry.
seen as the number 4 of the big 4, if you
Yes.
will.
Yeah.
But that has definitely changed this season, especially because, with Chelsea Gray being injured for a lot of it and, like, coming back, but is still kind of coming back. And, like, I don't think she played in the second half of this game. Chelsea Gray did, or at least if she did, definitely maybe just at the very beginning, and that was it.
Yeah.
And
She
then,
played 13 minutes, took one shot.
yeah. So, it
4
wasn't her
assists, though.
night. And, they brought Kelsey Plum off the bench a bit early and then just, like, kept riding with her, which I think was a good decision on Cheryl Reeves' part. Like, it really worked out. And, like, but yeah, part of me did miss Sabrina Ionescu at the end of this game because I just love seeing her in clutch games. And if Kelsey Plum is, like, handling the ball, then Sabrina can play off the ball, which, that's kind of where you sort of want her to be. But I mean, again, like, it still worked out. Like, I wouldn't want to take minutes necessarily away from anyone else um in this game. I'm really happy Kalia Copper got to have her moments in this game.
Yeah, Alyssa Thomas under 10 minutes. Bit of a surprise for me.
Mhm.
Also, oh, why am I blanking out? Cheryl Reeve. We're in a couple WNBA groups, and I think because I'm mostly stat watching this game and watch some highlights, I wouldn't be able to say. But, like, Cathryn, was there any bad coaching stuff that popped out to you? Because, or is it just the fact that it was a close game? Because it seems like people are pissed at Cheryl Reeve, and it's an honor to coach Team USA, and you're not expected to win by a point, especially the women. The men is
Well, and they barely won this game.
yeah,
Like,
like
you know what I mean? Like,
this is
by a hair they won this game.
there's a good Guardian article I was reading about this game that just came out today by I'll find the author for you in a second. But a cool stat from it was that the USA women's team has only played 2 games ever that have been this close. So
Right.
this game really, stands like in a very, like, stark, like, place of its own. So for France, for women's basketball internationally, this is like just a gigantic victory.
Yeah, I mean, the Cheryl Reeve thing is interesting because I feel like maybe if there's, like, an analytical mind out there that does some reporting on this, I'd be very interested to know their take. I think a lot of fans are upset because no one expected the game to be so close. I think it's always easy for fans to be like, I would put this person in, I would put that person in when you are, it's like, what's the saying? Um, an embarrassment of riches, kind
Mm-hmm.
of, with this team. Um, I mean, my personal observation watching the game was just, oh my God, France is that good.
Right.
And I don't know if, like, strategically US was simply unprepared. I didn't feel that way watching the game. I felt like they were just truly toe to toe in this game. And they did pull through ultimately in the end. Um, like, there was a play, like, within a minute, less than a minute left of the game, and Asia Wilson, like, turned it over. But she turned it over because the defense on her was that good. You know what I mean? So to me, that isn't bad coaching. That's just you're up against a really good team.
Mm-hmm. By the way, author of the article, Brian Armin Graham, Guardian Sport.
So
Yeah.
that's my personal takeaway, but I would be interested if, like, a more intellectual mind was like, "Hey, I would have done this differently." I feel like that's a take I would at least, like, read, absorb, and then make an opinion on. But just as a fan of the game watching it, I didn't necessarily feel like this was, like, bad coaching. I think, the US, they're just so good at being, like, they're so used to being so extremely dominant that for it to even be close feels like, oh, this is ridiculous. But if you look at the French team, I mean, this is true for the men's side also, right? Like, the men's team had 2 close games against France and against Serbia. And it's like these were just really good teams.
Yeah, and to your point about like France being like just incredible on defense, we talked about this a little bit in the Bleacher Report, in the Bleacher Report stream as well. And I said I'd be really curious to see what happens and like where they find the shooting in the event of a tight game. And I thought fairly got roasted in the comments by people saying like in a tight game, are you insane? This is like Team USA. And I was like, we were both like, yeah, fair enough. Like there won't be a tight game. But here we have it. We have a tight game, and
Yeah.
the USA squad hit 2 threes. So they went
Yeah.
2 for 12. And France, it's not like they shot that well. They went 7 for 36, but in modern basketball, 7-2, huge. That's a huge discrepancy from 3. And
Yeah.
if you're US and you have only, so who hit the threes? Kelsey hit them both.
Mm-hmm.
No other player hit a single 3.
Mm-hmm.
So that's
also kind of why I was surprised Sabrina wasn't out there. But maybe she was struggling from 3. I don't have her stats in front of me. I don't know if you have it, but also too on the defense,
she didn't take a 3.
Oh, she didn't even take one.
She took 1 shot.
You know what? I think that's credit to France's defense, honestly. And maybe maybe the team wasn't prepared for how good France was. It's hard for me to say. But man, they were good. And also too, like, we have to talk about Stewie because she was incredible in this game. And she had a block in the 4th quarter that that ultimately gave US the win, in my opinion. Yeah, so I feel like Stewie was great and extremely needed as always.
Yeah, 2 blocks, 2 steals.
Mm-hmm.
That's just like Stewie doing her thing. Like, she only scored 8 points, but Stewie's just like absolutely like having Stewie and Wilson on the same team is insane.
It's unreal. I mean, it's like LeBron and Curry being on the same team. And Durant. It's just absolutely wild. We're spoiled. Yeah. I'm gonna miss this Olympics actually, but we'll get into that. We'll get into that a bit more. Later.
By the way, Wilson 4 blocks.
Damn.
Wait. Have we talked about Gabby Williams yet? By the way,
I was about to bring this up. I wasn't gonna move on, but that's fine. That's fine.
No, I was just like, wait a second. Holy shit. Yeah.
So there was some Twitter action today. Involving Gabby Williams, where we have players saying like, "Hey, Gabby Williams, come play for us." Freddie, do you have that in front of you?
I don't have the exact tweets in front of me, but I do. Like, I remember 2 of them. So first of all, Angel Reese was like, "Come play for my team," which is wild. And then Gabby Williams was like, "I'd love to play with you, maybe in a different organization," which I'm like, whoa.
I know, that's pretty bad.
Juicy. And then Dearica Hamby got in right after and said, like, "I asked first."
Ooh.
So, and then, me and you were talking about before the podcast, like this, we've talked about Gabby Williams because she's sort of like the face of prioritization. And by the way, Marina Johannes also is playing in the French league and not playing in the W. So like, the deal...
So let's take a step back for a second. So for anyone who doesn't know, Gabby Williams was playing in the WNBA at some point, but because of WNBA prioritization rules, essentially, the WNBA wants players to prioritize their league first, so they can't play for another league around the world if their seasons overlap at all. So Gabby essentially chose to play in France for the French league, not just the Olympics, but for the French league, instead of playing in the WNBA. There, just in case anybody didn't know that.
See, Cathryn puts herself down all the time, but like this is vital. I was just going a mile a minute. And Cathryn's like, you might want to just like rein it in a bit because you're dropping words like prioritization, and it's like, that's just not, I don't even know where else that exists besides.
Well, like, I mean, some of our listeners definitely know and they've been around, and then we have other listeners that are new to the league. So, we gotta bring people in.
And shout out to both,
Yeah.
But Yeah, it's really sort of like brings to light kind of like all the things we're talking about, like um her choosing France over, she's a U.S. citizen, by the way, so she, like, she chose to play for France as well. Like she's a U.S. and French citizen,
Mm.
and by the way, she played 3 years for Chicago. So her saying like a different organization, like that means something. And her
Oh,
last,
that's right.
yeah. So and her last 2 years
Oh.
were with Seattle. And in 2021, she also did not play in the W because she played she played for the in the French league and Team France in the Olympics. So
Mhm.
and we're seeing Sabrina Johannes also play in France. So I think for listeners who don't know, who are like, why can't they play in both? The French league goes long, so it overlaps with like more so than the other leagues. Like it doesn't end before training camp, and even it doesn't even end before the season starts.
Mhm.
So these players are playing in France, and you know before the prioritization, they could just sort of like finish their season and then join their W team. But the W has been trying to punish that, and this is kind of the result of that, which is fascinating to me. And by the way, I don't know if I've read off Gabby's stat line, but she just like was
Yeah,
insane.
do it. Go for it.
So check this out: 19 points, 7 rebounds, 2 assists, um, 3 steals, and she shot 3 for 6 from three.
Yeah, and like 8 of those points were like, I want to say, in the last minute or so of this
Yeah,
game. So that's absolutely wild. Um yeah, I mean, look, when the we say this often on this podcast whenever topics like this come up, but the next CBA for this league
juicy.
is going to be absolutely wild. And I
Yeah,
believe that's next year.
it is. Yeah.
Yeah, it's
So
going to be unreal.
it's going to be
Uh
yeah, unreal for so many reasons, like with the new money, with the stuff like prioritization, and
yeah, the
it's
salary cap
really going to be
stuff,
something
all of
else.
it, it's going to be like on another level. All right, we've got other things to talk about here, Freddie. I
We
think
do
we
we got to
do.
move. Oh, just
Yeah, go
sorry.
ahead.
One more Gabby Williams thing. Like
Yeah.
Twitter's finest, Sydney Colson, uh,
Yeah.
tweeted out. Uh, she said, if I set like, so she retweeted a picture of Gabby Williams holding her, head, and Stewie pointing to the line after she stepped on it. And the tweet is, if I send you this, it means you've crossed the line, which
Oh
is great.
my
But then Sydney Colson
god.
retweeted it and said, "Great game, Gabby Williams. Flex, but I know you'll like this." So
Oh,
Sydney
that's nice.
Colson,
Yeah, yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
which is amazing.
That is
It's
amazing.
a
Wow.
good meme.
Yeah, she's really on top of it. Um, okay, so Freddie, you've got here. So Toronto, they're getting a team in 2026. They have started the search for a team name, and they have a link for people to send suggestions. So if you have any real suggestions, you can, I think, through their Instagram or whatever, but if you just search like WNBA Toronto, you'll see the page and link where you can send your own suggestions for names. We've talked about names on this
Mhm.
podcast quite a bit, but what you wanted to ask, Freddie, is what makes a good sports name, and what are a few of your favorite team names from any sport? Thought this was really interesting. So, Freddie, can you elaborate?
Yeah, so I think you covered it perfectly. Like we have talked a lot about like potential team names, but with this sort of like naming whatever, like this name drive, it made me think like what is going to like dominate the narrative, like what do people want to see their team name be, like what's important to them. Is it something ferocious? Is it something feminine? Is it something like, is it a basketball pun? Is it like, something that's related to the city? And, they're all valid, right? Is it something that like lends itself to a theme, like in colors and mascot and whatever? But, yeah, so I thought it'd be fun for us to think about, and for our listeners to think about, and give us feedback too, like what's important to them in a team name, and like what is a team name or a couple team names that kind of like that really fits a team and has like a good vibe. So I have a couple team names if you want me to start, but
Yeah, sure, go for it.
so I guess I'll say, by the way, I think for me, relating to the city in some capacity is like an absolute must.
Yes, I
Like
agree.
I know some people, it's like you just need a cool name. Like me and you are both Toronto Raptor fans, right? So Raptors have nothing to do with Toronto. And the idea of a raptor, like the logo, it's not even what a real raptor is. It's just because it's just like, that's just a weird gimmicky name that has existed for a long time, and it's sort of like we love it because it's ours and whatever. But yeah, so real good names. So I'll start with the W. Like I think that the Atlanta Dream is just a
Mm,
fantastic name through and through. So like it's a reference to MLK, the idea of like a dream as being something like bigger than, I don't know, an animal, or like a cool, like whatever, like I don't know, I'll use the example of like the Golden State, the new team, like a Valkyrie. It's like that's that's all right, I guess, right?
mhm.
It's like Norse mythology, but it's like if you're from San Francisco, it's like, wait, what's going on here?
Yeah, it
North.
doesn't have anything to do with San Fran, that's true.
Yeah, and then so I love that. I also love the uh moving to the NBA. I love the Portland Trailblazers. So that to
Mhm.
me is an example of like a trail.
Why do you like the Trailblazers?
Well, I like the Trailblazers because it's like it's creative, and it's like Oregon Trail, and they're also like they're just following their own path. They're blazing a trail, and
Mhm.
it's yes, it's not like tough,
Blazing a
but
trail to mediocrity. Ayo.
ayo, huge. I mean, that is a funny thing too. Is your name can forever be used against you if you're bad or good. Uh,
Uh,
so those two stick out to me, as someone who likes to watch birds. I don't mind I don't mind a good bird name. And
That's
you know what I
so
mean?
random.
So random. Listen, bird
Do
names are
you
good.
consider a raptor a bird name?
Whoa, you just blew my fucking mind. I should, but I don't.
Um, for me, like I think one of the better names out there is the New York Liberty for many
Mm,
reasons.
that
One,
yes,
right, immediately attached to the city. It's feminine, but also like strong. Like it's feminine
you're
without
right.
being girly, right? It's
Yep.
strength. It's patriotic. It's like all of these things, and like I love their colorway. The Ellie the elephant mascot is very creative. At first we
Oh,
were
it's
like,
fucking
why is it an elephant? That doesn't make
nah. It's
any
all
sense.
good. It's great.
Then
Yeah.
we learned the history, and we were like, oh my god, that's incredible.
Wait, I
It
forget. Why is it elephant?
Because elephants were used to bring the statue across the
Oh,
Atlantic.
right. Oh, that's fucking great. That's awesome. Sorry.
Like, that's super creative.
Very creative.
And, because it coulda easily been, like, a dancing, like, Statue of Liberty woman.
Which would be pretty fucking funny. But like no, but like Ellie the elephant's awesome.
Yeah, we can't Ellie the elephant is awesome, and, like, I think they nailed it. That's,
Yeah.
like, to me, like, peak, like, you
That's a
named your team
fantastic. I
right.
agree. That's like the W, by the way, has a lot of good names.
Yes, the W has a lot of
Like
good
it
names.
punches above
The
its weight.
NBA could really learn a thing or
Big
two.
time. Big time.
Um,
The
yeah.
NBA's got some fucking duds.
Yeah,
Straight up.
looking at you, Utah Jazz.
Yeah, totally. But that's a weird category of like a funny ass name.
It's so stupid. It's so stupid.
I mean,
Anyway,
Lakers, no lakes in LA. Just saying.
yeah, all of those. Yeah. All right. Freddie, you sent me something interesting about um people on the sidelines, that we don't often hear about, unsung heroes, so to speak, and that is the medical and athletic training staff on teams. Freddie, what did you want to tell us about this?
I mean, this is a huge article. That's just it's got a lot of really interesting information, and this is like people who don't necessarily get covered. So it was really informative and pretty cool. So, it's by Abby Gordon, and it's on the Next, and it goes through sort of there's a lot of like it's pieced through with a bunch of interviews, and it kind of takes you through the journey that the W has been on as far as like medical professionals and who's on the sideline, when it comes to like strength training, how they collect data, dealing with injuries, dealing with coaches, so learning from players, like all this kind of stuff. And like there's a lot of really um, like fascinating anecdotes in this. And I'll just throw a couple at you that I found really, really interesting. So, as this league has grown, the teams have grown. So, certain teams, like the Liberty, for instance, have like a really top notch um, facility, which we know, but they also have like some of the best trainers. So, the trainer for the Liberty is also the trainer for Team USA, and it's a really coveted position. And so with that, she's been able to like bring on like other staff. So, around the league, there's also psychotherapists, like teams are starting to have to bring in like the mental health aspect. There's a study on how menstruation affects injuries and health, and how that sort of like works with the load management of the season. And then I forget what it's called, but I've heard about this before, but there's I'm gonna scroll down as I find it for you, but there is a new technology, and I've heard this with other sports, but it's like where you jump, it measures the pressure you put on a specific
Part of
um,
your foot?
part of your foot. Yeah, so it's really important for injuries and for jumping and for basketball, and for recoveries. Um, and is it Chuck Barta, who's the athletic trainer of the Minnesota Lynx? Um, that's not the one. But I'll find it in a second. But another part is like Jewel Lloyd. There's a really cool excerpt focusing on how she kind of like at first didn't understand what the athletic trainers were trying to do, but then she sort of like synced up with them and then really helped uh, them put their message to the rest of the team. So yeah, I mean, this is like it's framed as like the sort of unsung heroes.
What
And
is
going,
their message though? Like put their message to the rest of the team. What's their message?
uh basically to like respect the trainers and like understand what they're trying to do and like work on their alignment. um
Oh, like were
yeah.
trainers having a hard time getting respect? Or that's what you're saying, Jewel Lloyd? Like,
Yeah, so Jewel Lloyd, like it's not like necessarily respect, like they appreciated them, but like I think it's at the end of the day, it's someone sort of like trying to like translate information to an athlete that the athlete doesn't necessarily understand. So it's harder to like put that into place. Someone can tell you something, and you're like, why am I doing this? Like one example was to recover from an Achilles injury, they will like lob medicine balls like over players' heads so that like when they reach to grab the medicine ball, instinctively they're going up on their toes and strengthening their calves.
mm-hmm.
So there's all this sort of like, I don't want to say mind games, but like there's ways to like work with athletes that are not necessarily traditional, and like you have to kind of like figure out their personalities. And like this was an example where Jewel Lloyd was like, oh, I get what you're trying to do. Like, you're really, really trying to help us in a way that I didn't quite understand. So I'm gonna help make sure that the rest of the team takes you really seriously when you speak.
Okay. This is interesting. I personally found this article to be incredibly boring.
Fair?
But
Fair. You're in the weeds with this article. I'll say that.
yeah, this is real nerdy stuff here.
It is.
But thank you for indulging us, I guess.
I mean, thank you for
I just
indulging
have
me.
I
I
have
feel like.
nothing to contribute to this topic, which is very, not yes and of me. But I appreciate you.
I mean,
I just
I
for me
appreciate your
it's
honesty.
like, whoa, cool. Like I don't know what else to say.
Unsung heroes. Come on.
Oh, so interesting. Wow.
It is. It is. Okay, hit me in the comments if you think that
I'm sorry.
the
I
medical
really
staff
like
is
this
an
is so
important part
boring.
of the
Well, no
franchise.
one's saying they're not important.
Well,
I'm just saying
you
it
got
was
to give them some
boring.
shine. That's all. You got to give them
Yeah,
medical,
sure. Shout outs, I guess.
right?
Yeah. Okay. I could have done better, but I was really digging as you were talking to be like, how am I gonna contribute to this conversation? And then I just had nothing.
Well, I did go off on. You know what? So I think that's
That's on me.
that's on you. But I'll say this: I did go um, for a long time.
I'm not saying it isn't on me. It's just like I could have just been like, "Wow, that's so interesting. Thanks, Freddie," and then moved on. That's what I should have said.
Listen,
But I'm an
you
honest
spoke your truth.
person.
You spoke your truth. For anyone listening, this is the last podcast. Me and Cathryn are absolutely fucking done. And I am going to devote the rest of my career to
Podcasting about medical
yeah.
training staffs on sports teams.
I am going to devote listen, I've already dropped that I like birds. I'm a clown, and I care about. I'm all the way in on the nerdy sports. So
yeah, no, it
that's where you
is
get with me.
nerdy. It is nerdy. The new technology and preventing injuries and stuff like that is interesting.
It's all interesting,
But we just don't know enough to like embellish. I don't think at this moment in time.
I agree.
Amazing.
Class
Freddie,
dismissed.
it is time. It is time for your fun question. We can't dismiss everyone just yet. We got to do your fun question.
Fun question.
Let's
Why
go.
don't you like medical based topics? No, here's
But I was reading the article and it's like, oh, it's a competitive field, blah blah blah. And I'm like, yeah, sure, of course it is.
You're like, yeah, doctors. Next.
Yeah.
Okay, here's my FFQ. Here's my Freddie's fun question. The Olympics have completed. A lot of hilarious moments, I think. It was actually I had to cut a couple to sort of like just give a top 3 here. And I'll say the question before I, bring up some of the funny examples. The question is this. Me and you are funny people. We're comedians. And I want us to envision ourselves in the Olympics. What do we do to create a viral moment? It can be by accident. We can make an ass of ourselves, whatever it is. What's like, if you had to envision yourself in this summer games, like as an athlete, like what's your moment? Why is it funny? Why is it viral? So that's the question. And, for the listeners, what I'm thinking here is like, obviously I think the number one sort of gem of the Olympics is Reagan, who was the Australian woman breakdancer who's viral, and just like we're all losing our shit because it's like one of the
and that's why they call it hip hop.
Yeah, it's something else. And then but like honestly, like you can't forget about the guy who with the gun and put it one hand in his pocket, like Alanis Morissette on the fucking like gun.
I
Let's
got one
go.
hand in my pocket and
Let's
the other
go.
one shooting at the Olympics.
You know what I mean? Like, and it's like, how old is this guy? He's like 62. It's like, what the fuck? Like, like, and then also, I'm sure he's got like a Heinz or like a, Fruit of the Loom sponsor already, but like
Fruit of
if
the Loom.
the guy, I'm moving on to the guy who did the pole vault and lost by his dick.
Okay, but you didn't say that.
I was
I'm
leading up to
picturing
it.
the shooter with the Fruit of the Loom.
No, he's got like, I don't know what
Deal.
his sponsor is like.
All right, you are going a mile a minute, but it's okay. I'm here to bring you back.
I don't know. I don't know what his sponsor is. Smoke cigarettes. Yeah. The other moment is the guy who lost pole vault by his dick. What's that?
I'm like, why would cigarettes be a sponsor?
I don't know. Well, okay. Like, listen. Since I'm going all over the place here, Ozempic was a huge sponsor of the Olympics, which is just brutal. I'm sorry.
Yeah, it was brutal.
Like Ozempic being like a huge sponsor of the Olympics is like, oh man, that's fucked up. But yeah, so funny moments, a lot of funny moments. I don't know if you want to talk
the
a little
pole
bit
vaulting
about
was a moment for sure. Yeah, with the French guy. Also too, like, so the whole like track and field sport on the men's side, this is like the outfits that they wore seemed like the outfits they wear all the time. But for some reason this year, to me at least this year, it seemed like we could see more.
Interesting.
More of the bulge.
Okay.
I felt was visible this year than I don't remember it being so visible in the past.
It's new technology. Thank the trainers.
Yeah. Correct me if I'm wrong, anyone. But like day one of athletics, like of track and field, I was clutching my pearls like a 1950s housewife. Okay, because I wasn't expecting it. I was like blushing. I felt like I could see everyone's package.
Listen, you're not alone. This wasn't in running, but the best diver, like at some point, like it was like China was going for like 8 in the men's diving. They were like, they're gonna win gold in like all 8 whatever diving categories. And me and Caitlin were watching, and the best diver, like, every time, I don't even know how to like rate diving. I'm like, yeah, okay, less of a splash. I don't know what the fuck's going on, but so it's this one Chinese diver, and all of a sudden Caitlin's like, hold on, this guy has like quite a lot of pubes, and then I was like, what? And sure enough, he's the one diver when I'm like, yo, this guy's out of control. Like, and he was the best. And I'm like, is that a thing? Like, is that
like he just didn't care to groom?
He didn't care. And it was like, man, let me tell you, like,
was it just at the top or was it like around?
It's around, man. It was like coming out. It was like, let me tell you, this thing was coming out all over the place. Like, and I mean, like, whatever, buddy, do your thing. But like, since you went there, Cathryn, and you're like the bulge and shit, I'm like, yo, did you see the Jungle Book? Because like that guy was like, that guy was like that guy. When Caitlin pointed out, I was like, yeah, right. And then and then he's like, because like some of the diving is like they start on their hands, and I was like, yo, man, if they zoom up on that guy's, they zoom up on that guy's rug.
You have to send me a picture of this guy like right now.
I mean,
I don't want to affect my algorithm, so I want you.
Listen, I can't search for Chinese diver pubes. I can't.
No, yes, you can, and you will, and you must.
Like, I think my, I think like my computer will crash. Like,
oh my god. That's incredible. I did not know this.
Yeah, shout out to Caitlin, because I was like, I wasn't as observant. I just like, I didn't notice. And then she's like, what do you mean you didn't notice? I was like, I don't know. And then when you came back around, I was like, I don't know how I didn't notice. Because like, wow, dude. But
wait, this is a male diver.
Male diver. So listen, all the way back to this question, Cathryn. What's our respective moments
I'm
here?
not
Or
finding it.
well, that's good. It's probably poor guy, like
Uh,
I'll say this: this was not a viral thing. This was
no,
something me and my wife noticed. So it was not like I didn't see it all over the internet. Thankfully for this guy.
no. I'm sorry. Maybe. Wait. Are you exaggerating details? You're not exaggerating, are you?
I mean, probably a little bit, just because I guess to see any amount of pubic hair is a surprise. So perhaps we were saying, we felt like it was a lot because we could see any.
Yeah. All right. I gotta move on. We gotta move on
Yeah, yeah.
here. Okay. So
Listen,
we gotta talk. Okay. Yes.
I
Yes.
just want to say DM Cathryn with the pics once you got them.
That's an incredible DM. Okay. So we have to talk about this Australian breakdancer.
Go for it.
First of all, I want to dress up as her for Halloween.
Mm-hmm.
I think that would be so good. I think she is the perfect Halloween costume this year. There's a lot of talk about it, a lot of really funny memes, you know, some think pieces as well.
Mm-hmm.
About her being a white, not just a white woman, but being like not a particularly good break dancer.
Mm-hmm.
What kills me is that like when you watch the routine, I actually think she probably has the athletic ability to be a decent break dancer, but she has no like real like rhythm or feel for the music at all. So it's just like kind of chaotic. Does that make sense?
It does. I
Because
mean,
those like to do all those moves in sequence at, is probably not easy. It's just those moves weren't particularly good.
well, yes, and then this also brings into like this is getting into think piece territory, but my brother Miguel, we were talking about it in our brothers thread, and he was saying like what's crazy about this is like she actually is doing the dominant breakdancing style in Australia. So that's like that's kind of the style of breakdancing that's happening there right now.
Oh, I had no
So like
idea.
part of it was all of us laughing at Australia. And for our Australian listeners, please let us know if you know more. If I'm wrong, sorry, first of all. Second of all, if you know more, if this is the breakdancing style, because like that's yeah, I mean, part of it was like she was like hopping around like a kangaroo. Like this is crazy. Crazy. Like that was like
I love it so much.
I'm not even making that up. Like that's actually what one of the moves she did.
There was also a Lithuanian breakdancer who won silver. I don't know if you saw her, but she was wearing a do-rag on her head. And she's like a white woman. At least to my knowledge, she's a white woman. Um with a do-rag, and it was very like I don't know what's going on in Lithuania, but that was a choice.
I don't either. And like I will say that like it's funny because I didn't realize this, but they approve the events so far in advance. So like breakdancing is like already like it's not in the 2028 Olympics.
It isn't?
No, it was just in these Olympics. So this person's gonna live on like in infamy for a long fucking time.
Okay, but but if breakdancing was in LA, it would be better for breakdancing because I feel like LA would know how to do this and they would put it together right.
Yeah, sure.
I mean, not that they have a say in the contestants per se, but like even like the scoring and stuff, like watching it, I just felt like this doesn't really make sense. Like I don't know what these scores are even based on, or like, you know, yeah, like it was just maybe that's just the Canadian broadcast, but it was like confusing because I was like, what's actually happening here?
Yeah. No, I agree. Like
But anyway, she's hilarious. I've been laughing at almost all of these memes. And if anyone knows where to get an Australian jumpsuit so I can be her for Halloween, let me know.
Yeah.
Um, but the question was, what would our viral moment be?
Yeah.
So like, there's two things here because there's things that you can do on purpose, like the
Mm-hmm.
gun holding is like deliberate. Same with like the Korean woman as well, right? Like in the little like cute elephant thing that she had on her side that was her daughter's,
Yes.
right? Like those, that's deliberate. And then there's things that happen sort of like unintentionally, like the pole vaulter,
Yes. Very, very
and
good
like
point.
this break dancer, like I mean her routine was her routine, but it going viral wasn't an intention, it just happened.
Yes.
So what side are we on here? Are we like, this is like
Mm.
the thing we're doing on purpose, or this is like how I think things could go wrong for me
I
and it
think
would
I'm
go
more interested
viral?
in this in the latter, but whatever jumps out to you, like if it's sort of like a more deliberate thing, that's cool.
No, I mean, the only deliberate thing I could think of would be like in my clothing, because I wouldn't try to go viral by doing something like, I guess even like the shooters, like that wasn't an intentional thing to go viral, right? Like they
No,
didn't do
not
that to go
really.
viral. That's just who they were. And I
Mhm.
feel like if I were an athlete, I would just be being myself, so focused, just trying to win, just trying to be my best. But maybe I would have something to do with my outfit that would be a little more flamboyant. I think
Mhm.
that's the only thing I would do intentionally. Unintentionally, this is like where my nightmares live, if you will.
I love this already.
And that is like, I just feel like if I were a break dancer, okay, I'm representing Canada. First of all, I'd wear a nicer outfit than the Australian jumpsuit, okay? Like I dress the part at least, and no do rags. But let's just say I could actually do all of that.
Got it.
I just feel like this is so stupid, but I just feel like in my worst nightmares, like the beat would drop and I would just like fart so loud.
Huge. The fart.
Like I just
I
feel
love
like
it.
I would be like, you know what I mean? Like my legs are in the air, my ass is sticking out, I'm twirling, and I just feel
And you
like a
freeze and then rip apart.
yeah, like yeah, I freeze, the beat drops, and it's just fart, and everyone can hear it, and no one knows what to do about it. And I just feel like that would happen to me. Like I just feel like, of course, like to me that would happen.
That's incredible.
And that would obviously go very viral if someone farted and you could hear it in the middle of like their Olympic, whatever the routine or situation is. If I was throwing a hammer, I feel like I'd end up farting really loud. I don't fart. Like I don't have like issues. Like I don't have like IBS or like flatulence or like I don't have like issues. That's not why this is a fear. I just want to disclose that I'm normal, but like, you know what I mean? Like that would be embarrassing and really funny and it would go
I
viral.
love that we've gotten to this point of the podcast where it's like, I just like sometimes I'm like, where I wonder where it's gonna go, and I just want to like jump into this moment. Like I hope at least one viewer just like clicks like, wonder what's going on at like the 57th minute, and they just hear you being like, I don't have IBS. Uh, okay, here's my intentional one, definitely clothing, right?
Yes.
So, um. I absolutely like the fencers had really like funny helmets. So that made me think like, okay, if I'm playing water polo, I'm for sure gonna have a swimming cap that like makes it look like it's like also a bald cap.
Oh
And
my
I
god, that's so dumb.
and you know what I mean? Like I have like a comb over. So like that's cool. That'd be great. Um I think people would be like, this guy's nuts. This is fun. And as far as like the sort of like disaster moment or whatever, I can't quite put my finger on like what event it would be, but I feel like I would be one of those athletes. Just because I'm clumsy, I would be like, those like viral moments where it's like this person like collapsed and started crying, and then like the person who was in first, they went back and they helped them across the finish line. Like I that's what I would be like. I'd be like rowing or something, and I'd be like, like, you know what I mean, my back, whatever. And then like the other rowers would be like, "We got you," like, and then I would be like,
What do you mean you can't row anymore?
whatever, like whatever event it is, somehow I would be helped by my other opponents. That's,
Oh my god.
you know what I mean? I drop a baton and someone would be like, "Fuck,
Yeah,
you
yeah.
really
I
like."
feel like respectfully, I do feel like you're dropping a baton.
Oh God! Like I'd drop like, even if even I would drop. I'd be one of those runners. I would drop a baton even before the handoff. Like, you know what I mean? I would be like mid run and I just drop it.
I
And
think
be
that
like,
happened to somebody.
that's pretty funny.
Yeah, I was watching the women's 400. Is it the relay? That what they call it with the
Mm-hmm.
batons? Anyway, yeah, I think it was the Jamaican team. Like she dropped the baton and it wasn't during the handoff. And then
Deadly.
she just stopped running because she knew it was over.
That's rough.
Yeah, it was really rough. Yeah, the Olympics are hard. I feel like, okay, if you could do an Olympic sport, what would you do? What would you want to do?
What would I want to do?
Hmm.
Like, that I could feasibly in some way imagine myself doing, or like just anything I can do?
Okay, let's do a pure fantasy pick, and then what do you think you could learn to do?
So pure fantasy, fastest man in the world, 100%.
Yeah, absolutely.
Because that's just like the coolest imagined.
I agree. That's my fantasy.
Like, if you're the
answer.
fastest,
I'm the
person,
fastest woman in the world.
insane.
It's so cool. I agree.
And like, obviously, you're just like ripped.
Yeah, and there's a lot of flashiness in that sport too. You know what I mean? Like there's
What
a
I-
lot of personality and character with each individual.
Yes. What I could maybe train to do, even also in a fantasy life. I mean, like, I guess one of the like gun or like archery events,
Yeah.
maybe. Because a lot of it's like athletic predisposition. So like maybe, yeah, like anything running. It's like I could be born 1,000 times and like not be able to like be that type of runner. Like, it's just not gonna happen. So yeah, put me down for like, well, breakdancing better than that girl for sure. Although she seemed pretty athletic.
But you know what I mean? Like I just felt like everything she was doing, I was like, that is a workout.
Mm-hmm.
Like that's not like any, but it was still a bit much. It was still ridiculous. There was no rhythm at all.
You know what?
She also has this move where like her hands and like her elbows are collapsed, and she's just like, like lunge.
Yeah,
like what was that move? That was so weird.
Yeah, it was amazing. In the article I sent, it said she pulled some unique moves like kangaroo hopping and swimming on the ground. Legend. She's a legend.
She is a legend. She absolutely is. The one that I think
put me down for water polo.
Yeah,
Sorry.
There you go. Oh, okay. You would try water polo. That's your realistic pick?
Yeah, I'm 6 foot. Maybe if I grew up like living in the water and swimming, whatever, like, I'm sure, honestly, probably not. But like, yeah, I don't know.
If I was younger and I was training, I feel like I could be really good at volleyball.
Okay.
Because I'm tall. I feel like when I played volleyball as a kid, I was decent at it. I could serve, I could spike, I could block shots and stuff. I feel like that would have been my sport if I was younger. But what I would do now, the shooting for sure, easily. Give me a gun. Take me to the range, baby. They all have those special glasses on and everything. Like I don't even need like perfect vision.
Yeah, 100%.
That's absolutely what I would try to do now.
Yeah, give me the AI glasses and a gun. Let's go.
Yeah. Because like the Korean woman, like she looks so cool that I was like, wait, do I like guns now? But anyway, we should wrap it up there. We're over an hour here.
Yeah, it was a good one.
Fun, silly times. Only like 4 minutes where it dipped. In this entire episode.
No, we were full blast the whole time.
Thank you, everyone, for listening, for tuning in. Please help us get out of YouTube algorithm jail by finding us, liking the video, subscribing. The Pickup WNBA podcast. One day I'm gonna have a bit of like a YouTube maintenance day, research day, try and figure out what we can do about this 1050 situation at the end. But find us, all that good stuff. Thank you again. WNBA starts again. Is it August 20th?
15th, I believe. Well, I
Oh,
can
it's sooner. Okay, good. Yeah. So we'll be back next week talking about WNBA action again and
Yep.
all
Yeah.
that good stuff.
Thursday the 15th.
Yeah. Oh, exciting. I'm excited for it to be back. Okay, cool. Thanks, everyone.
Thanks, everybody.
Bye.
Peace.